Time to continue with the N55 engine rebuild. So this is where we're at right now. We've still got the gearbox mated to the engine. I've bought myself a engine stand so that I'll be able to flip the engine upside down and remove the sump. Now there was a 340 kilo engine stand, but it didn't have very good reviews, so I got this 560 kilo one for £100 and 79p. So I'm going to assemble that. So we'll start by removing the gearbox. We've got all these E-star bolts going round. These are E18, some smaller ones. But another thing that we'll need to do is balance the engine on the hoist when the gearbox is removed. So the balance point will change once the gearbox is dropped, and we'll need to support the front of the engine more. Now, this strap may not look that strong, but I've used them before and I've not allowed it to get cut or damaged anywhere all the way around. And I've put some steel toe cap boots on as well. So we'll get the gearbox off and the clutch, and then we'll build the new engine stand. Got T60 Torx screws for the flywheel removal.
Very tight. Not very tight.
Now note, this one's already been marked up for alignment purposes. Right, I'm going to start getting this engine stand built up, ready to attach it to this side of the engine. So I've got the stand fully assembled, tightened all the bolts up. Now I'm ready to try and mount the engine to it. So this lower bolt here is the gearbox bolt that was originally in, and they weigh absolutely nothing. I'm guessing they're aluminium, and I don't feel particularly comfortable mounting the whole engine off 4 of these bolts. So I've got myself some stainless steel ones instead, and you see this mark here, that amount of the bolt goes into the engine case, so that's a good amount for supporting the engine, and we have 4 mounting points, so this should be enough. This is where it would definitely help to have another person. We'll see what we can get done on my own. I think I've had a better idea. So what I'm going to do is remove the stand from the mounting plate. I'm going to focus on getting the mounting plate attached to the engine properly and safely. So I've tightened the 4 bolts in, and I've tightened the 4 adjustable bolts where the mount's attached to the mounting plate. So now hopefully I can attach the stand and find a way to drop the engine onto the stand.
Right, all the weight is on the engine stands now.
So first thing I'm going to do is drop the oil. Now I was actually seriously considering sending the oil off to be analysed. However, it stinks of petrol, and I think this ties in with the being driven on short journeys and eventually seizing up. So don't think I would learn anything by sending the oil off to be analysed. Using a bucket, so I've got a magnet so that I don't lose the sump plug. Right, so I actually left the oil draining out all last night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the sump plug back in and flip the engine upside down. You could tipped it over the balancing point then. So now we'll just have to go around removing all these star bolts. And we'll also need to remove the mount for the engine mount on this side, as two of the bolts are concealed. So we've got some more large star bolts. It'd be worthwhile covering any holes where debris can get into now. So we've got the throttle body on this side. I'd cover up the boost hoses and the coolant hoses as well. Also the aircon, the holes on the aircon. It looks like the only bolts that will be different are these end ones. The rest of them look like they'll all be the same length, but we'll check when taking them out. It might be that BMW recommend replacing all the bolts. They might be stretch bolts, I'm not sure at this point in time. Yeah, it does look like they are stretch bolts. So these will possibly need, they will need replacing with a full new set. all the bolts out now, as far as I can tell. So hopefully should be able to prise up the sump. Be careful where you do this. So just on the other side of the sump, there's a small area where you can get a screwdriver into. I've broken the seal now anyway. So I can already see in the bottom here we've got some metal shavings, which is to be expected with the engine seizing. So we've got a baffle plate and the oil pump feed to remove before we can see the crankshaft itself. There were also two little bolts in here as well.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh no.
Once we've removed all the bolts holding the lower crankcase in position, there's actually one more right here, and the only way to access that is by removing this plug here. So the socket doesn't fit in the hole. I'm not sure if there's a special tool that you're supposed to have to be able to do this normally, but as long as we have a magnet in there at all times, we will be able to catch the bolt. So we have all of the shells in position except these two. We seem to have some light grazing on the shells that are in position. So I don't know if that's particles of metal that have gone through with the oil before the engine is fully seized. We've got these two shells that have stayed in position, and I can see quite a bit of swarf under this one. So it's looking like either one or two of them are the cause of the complete seizure. But we'll remove these shells and have a better look. This isn't a metal tool, this is a plastic composite bojo tool. Doesn't look like it's done a massive amount of damage to the crank, so I might be lucky if all the damage is to the shells. Like I've said in previous videos, this engine's seized while idling. Now, if it had been doing motorway speed at high revs, then we might see a lot more damage than we are right now. So same again pretty much. There's a little bit of metal sat on the top, but all the damage seems to be localised to the actual shells, but I won't know for sure until the crank is sent off to be checked. Now I may take the crank out myself, I may not, as I have decided to send it off to a professional to be rebuilt. So if I do get the crank out, I will make a separate video and advise of anything interesting to note. But as we can see by the shells, there's clearly metal gone round with the oil. So it's looking like my only option will be a full rebuild, as there could be metal anywhere in the engine. So I'll continue the strip down and possibly remove the crank in another video. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll keep up with my progress.